All right, welcome back to another special live version of Cooking with a Veteran. I'm your host, Dave Rogers. And as the holidays are coming up, I wanted to share another holiday meal with you. Something that I kind of created a long time ago. And this is a great meal for couples. And it's a one-pan kind of meal, which is really great. You know, I love those one-pan kind of meals. So we have with us nice pork roast. We have some mixed carrots. I have some nice pears here. I have some cranberries. I have some leftover Italian bread that I'm going to use as a kind of a stuffing. I have my hot peppers. I know what you're saying. When am I going to stop putting hot peppers? Never. I love hot peppers. All right. I got some potatoes. They're washed. I'm leaving the skin on. I do have some yams, okay? I like a little bit of yams, and I'm going to make a kind of like a sweet yam to go into the meal. And then I have my seasonings. Of course, I have my my homemade broth. I have some Irish butter. I have an onion. I have some garlic. And that's what we're going to be using today to cook this meal. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to, even though I'm using my cast iron pan and it's nice and it's seasoned, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom just to make sure that things don't stick to the bottom. Right? I'm going to take my onion. I'm not going to peel the onion. Believe it or not, getting the onion actually creates some nice flavors. So I'm not going to peel it. I'm just going to cut it up into nice big chunks. I'm going to place my two flattest pieces inside. On top of that, I'm going to place my bread for my breadcrumbs, for my stuffing. Okay. I'm going to put in, I sauteed up a little bit of onions and peppers. I'm going to add that in. On top of that, I'm going to put in some of my seasoning. I'm going to take a whole garlic, and I'm just going to cut that right in half. And again, this is not so much for eating as it is for flavoring. All right, so I got my garlic in there. I got my onion. I'm going to put some more onion around the side. Okay. And so that's the base. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in my broth. And I'm not using a lot of broth. About half a cup of broth. Okay, because the juices from the meat and the vegetables and everything will create more broth. I'm going to put in a little bit of my Irish butter. I'm going to add in my peppers. Okay. I have a little bit of the hot peppers. And again, I'm going to spread this around. And I'm going to mix in the other, I have a mixture of like green and red and yellow peppers. I'm going to throw that in. This is my base so far. All right. Now what I'm going to do, like I said, I have my yams. And I'm going to add a little bit of my carrot to this. I like a little bit of sweet carrot also. And I'm going to throw in some brown sugar, and I'm going to mix that in. And I'm going to let that sit for one moment. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to prep my potatoes. Now, I told you that I came up with this dish many years ago. It was actually, I came up with this dish in the 80s, late 80s. I was dating a woman whose parents did not like me. I know, right? Like, who wouldn't want their daughter dating me? Seriously. And I was living in a one-bedroom apartment, about the size of my kitchen right now, because I didn't have a lot of money. And she wanted her parents to meet me, and I thought it'd be great if I cooked them a meal. So I thought about, cook them a nice pork roast. I thought about, you know, the pork roast when I was growing up, how great it was. After I bought the roast and the vegetables and everything, and I brought them home, I realized that I didn't have the ability to cook the roast, and I really didn't know much about cooking a roast. So, needless to say, I wasn't able to cook the whole roast because I didn't have a big enough oven, but I did have one pan, and in that pan, I put all the vegetables, and I put the pork, I cut up the pork roast, and I put it in there, and I cooked it up. And her parents came over and found out that they were Orthodox Jews and they didn't eat pork. So Of course, they never wanted their daughter to ever see me ever again. But over the years, I like the way the dish came out, and over the years I kind of worked on it to perfect it somewhat. And this is what I've come up with. So this is called Pinwheel holiday meal. Like I said, it's not hard to cook. You can do it all in one pan. And when it gets to the roast, you know, the choice is yours. You can, you know, you can put the whole roast on top and cook the whole roast if you want. I'm going to cut it up so that it doesn't take as long to cook. It'll take about, you know, when I cut it up, total cooking time will take about 30 to 35 minutes. If I didn't cut it up, I'd have to keep checking it to make sure the temperature is correct. Alright, so now I got my potatoes inside. I've got my candy yams that I created over here. I'm going to put those around. Remember, I put some of my carrots in there. I like a little bit of sweet carrots. And you're kind of getting, with this kind of meal, what's nice is you're kind of getting like a mixture of all the tastes together. Alright, you're getting the sweet and the tart all in one kind of meal. Alright, so I have my candy yams in there. I'm going to go ahead at this time. I'm going to take my carrots and I'm going to place them along the edge. And like I said, this is a really great meal for young couples or for older couples who, you know, like I said, their kids are off for college or, you know, they can't see. And the reason I thought about making this meal is because with everything going on, and I know a lot of families may not be able to travel and be together, this is a perfect meal for a few people. Okay, this size cast iron pan makes it really great for about 4 to 6 people. Alright, so at this time, before I put any of my other stuff in, I want to make sure that I make room for my roast. I brined my roast. You see it's pre-seasoned. Okay, like I said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cut the roast. I remember when we were little, we used to, after my grandmother would cook the roast, we would go ahead and we would, you know, suck on the string because it had all the flavor inside of it. And I'm not going to leave my roast in these huge slices because, you know, I want the juices to flow through. Okay, so I am going to cut them in half, but I want to get them cut first in slices. I'm going to put in the slices about that big. Right? And again, I'm going to put these around, all the way around the outside. Okay? And the great thing is, you don't have to do this with pork. If you don't eat pork, or if you know you like, you can. I did go to the market. Unfortunately, they didn't have any turkey breast, so I'm doing this again with pork. But I have done this with turkey breast, and it comes out really great. And you notice I'm layering some of the pork. And one of the important things you're going to make sure when you cook, when you check on it, you know, kind of lift some of the pieces to make sure that it's cooking underneath also. But that's part of the reason why I'm cutting it kind of thinner, is so that it'll cook better. Alright, so I got my pork around, okay. I've got my vegetables in. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add some cranberries to the middle. And I'm just going to cook up those cranberries right in there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take in my pear. I'm going to add my pear around the inside here, okay, and also around the outside here. Alright, so I got all of that. I'm going to take my seasoning. I'm going to season some more around the pork, the outside here, okay. And in my seasoning I have, you know, some of my adobo, I've got some white pepper, I've got some black pepper, I've got some sea salt, okay, in there. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put another just thin layer of olive oil. And I'm going to top it off with a few pieces, again, of my Irish butter. Alright, if you can see, I'm going to move it closer so you can get a really good look of it. If you can see, it looks terrific. I mean, that's, okay, that's what I'm going to put in the oven. I got my oven preheating right now to 450 degrees. I'm going to go ahead, I forgot something. See, this is what happens when you do live. You sometimes forget things, okay? I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put in some rosemary. I went to the market and I picked me up some fresh rosemary. And nothing says holiday meal like some great fresh rosemary. I'm also going to add in a few of these anise stars. Okay? And again, this is all about flavoring. Alright? I'm not going to eat these, but they add some great flavor to the meal. And just right here in the middle, okay, for good measure, I'm going to add a nice piece of cinnamon stick. Alright, so my meal is all prepped up. Once the oven heats, I'm going to stick it in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes and it'll be nice and cooked. And about halfway through, about 20-25 minutes, you want to go ahead and cover it with some aluminum foil so that this way the heat as it's coming up goes back around and creates a circular kind of mist with the broth and cooks all the meal all the way through. Hope you enjoyed joining us on this live version of Cooking with a Veteran. If you like the show, make sure that you like and share below. And of course, if there's any meals that you'd like to see me cook, go ahead and reach out to me on my social media. Until next time, hoorah!